Evening, everybody, and welcome to I think we're SyncIpswich. Everything runs under a group called the Ipswich and Suffolk Tech Network, and we support a number of different meetups, including SyncIpswich, which you're attending this evening, one called SIMS, which is Suffolk and Internet Marketing Specialist. We're in talks with Norfolk to turn it into SNIMS, and they offer small business education. So we recently had a talk from them, which was around Google My Business, so sort of hyper-local traction for small business websites. And before that, we had a talk from our other meetup, which is called Suffolk Developers, which was about DIY satellites, which was incredible. And then you've got Martin, who is on the board with me, and David in the corner. David's on the board as well with me. There were some other meetups that we assisted. There's the Creative Computing Club in Ipswich run a number of computing events for all different ages. We have the Thirsty Robot is this evening, which is the pub event. So that I think it's definitely the Thirsty Robot this evening. And then there's Ipswich Drink About. So there's one a week in concurrent weeks. And then there's also OWASP Suffolk, which as far I think, am I right in saying, Martin, that OWASP Suffolk focuses on cybersecurity?
Yeah.
It focuses on cybersecurity. And that's the minimum amount of monthly meetups that we try to run. We are always looking for speakers. We are always looking to facilitate talks that are around things that you want to learn about. So we are not only networkers, we really lean into making sure that we have some sort of cross-pollination or some sort of knowledge transfer session. So feel free to join the website. I'll drop it into the chat in a minute. Feel free to sign up for updates. And we run all of the meetups through Meetup, another piece of software. That's it. So this evening we have a talk from the lovely Geraint Thomas, who is part of another Suffolk-based tech innovation, which is the Innovation Labs, at the moment based in Stowmarket. And what's the total cohort of everybody, including in-house and out-house? There's a lot of
close to 40 now.
40 different business people, and again of all different shapes and sizes. Some are super tech and some are not at all, but on the basis that, and we've been talking about this for a long time, that even somebody who sells sandwiches using some sort of technology is a technology business and has an investment in understanding not only the bit that they own but how it all cross-pollinates. So those guys are Innovation Labs are about to move to Ipswich. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, there are going to be a minimum of 2 new venues. There are also some due to be in various different, I think they've got IDIS all over the place, so across Suffolk at the moment, and into sort of South Norfolk, I think. So watch this space. We are at ISTN in the process of getting some sponsorship to ensure that we have a regular marketing feed coming out to you so that you can get access to all of these events, and influence everything as much as you possibly can. So I will stop waffling on and pass on to Geraint, who I genuinely have. I'm going to leave you to give the title of your talk, so I'm not very prepared this evening, and let you go on. But I'm going to pass over to you now, and if you should be able to present. There we go, perfect.
Yeah. I've got that. So everybody can see my presentation. Yep. That's wonderful, brilliant. Okay, so I'm not going to keep you too long today. I'm going to spend a bit of time taking you through, trying to give you some confidence to present. And I've got a set of hacks, a set of things that I believe genuinely, before the next time you're called upon to present to a group of individuals, you would bring this slide deck up, you'd work through them step by step, and by the end of it, you should have yourself a really strong presentation and some confidence to deliver it. What I want you to do is throw questions to me as we go. I'm actually going to stop on every single point and ask for people's thoughts, opinions, ideas, questions, challenges, and things like that. But allow me to introduce myself first of all. I'm really awesome. This is me coming 99th in Fortnite. Believe it or not, that was me trying to land 100th. It's almost impossible to come 100th in Fortnite. Forget coming first, try it. It's really hard. Somebody always dies before you. So I am half geek. My head is all geek, and my heart is all social care. So I run a company that tries to inspire social care organizations to solve problems using cool tech. That's what I do. Am I the best presenter in the world? Not even close, but I'm better than most. Do I come to things like this? Of course I do. As many as I can, because I'm always picking up new things and new ways of doing stuff. I do present an awful lot in my role. I'm a STEM ambassador. I go into schools. I've gone into hundreds of them in my career. I've lobbied central government on think tank policies for social care. I've presented it. Do you remember we used to have conferences and stuff like that? It was awesome. There were stages and everything. They were really good. So I've often presented at innovation, tech, and social care ones of those. So I'm told I'm not bad at it. So please enjoy your time with me for the next half an hour. So I'm going to sort you all out. I'm going to have people on this call that might consider themselves as extroverts. Hi, Sam. And there might be some out there that would consider themselves introverts. So if I'm going to stop sharing and come back to the screen, can I see a raise of hands from the introverts on the call? Okay, I can generally assume those without their cameras on might fall into that as well, or they're extroverts with really messy houses and their house pro. Can I get a jazz hands from the extroverts? There you go. So let me be really clear on this point. Some of the best best talks I've ever gone to have been by introverts. Absolutely, these people who are incredibly knowledgeable what they do, really believe in what they do, and just get that point across to me. Some of the worst presenters I'm aware of are extroverts, most definitely. Shout out to the Kardashians. So please do not believe for a second that if the stage is the last place you want to be, that you can't do it. Some quick tips. What matters is good elocution and talking, fantastic slide decks, that you never swear. I can't keep talking because this is a bullshit list. There's books written about this stuff, and I genuinely ask you not to believe them too much. If you want to rise to a level of politicians, maybe, then yes, there are techniques you can learn at elocution and talking correctly. There's people that you can pay huge sums of money to give you fantastic slide decks. There's neuro-linguistic programming. There's all this kind of stuff that you can learn and become a master at. It's certainly going to enhance your game. But look, you're going to be able to give a fantastic presentation without any of that. There are two things that you absolutely need to have before you even think about stepping up and presenting to another individual. You have to be authentic. You have to be knowledgeable. So if you think of Mark Zuckerberg, incredibly knowledgeable, no authenticity at all, nothing. He just stands on a stage and in his monologue going, don't tell them we steal their data, don't tell them we steal their data. On the other side of the coin, if we think Donald Trump, incredibly authentic, absolute moron. So doesn't have that knowledge, but very authentic. Now, I've just mentioned two individuals, Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump. Who's the better presenter? It's very much Donald Trump, which leads me to point out one of these is more important than the other. And it's absolutely that authentic point. And I'm going to keep coming back to these points as I go through some of the ideas and hacks I've got for you. It's all about being authentic, believing in what you're talking about. And let me take you now to the doubts, the devil on that shoulder, the things that might stop you. Just have a read through that for a sec. I expect a lot of you on this call are going to be able to relate to a number of those, a minimum one. I've certainly thought the bottom one when I started out presenting for the first times, that I was just terrible. So let me take you through these. If you're trying to sell or get a point across or influence about something you don't believe in, you probably need to get out. Don't put yourself in that position. Try your best not to do it. The worst presentation I've ever given in my entire life was that one, where somebody asked me to present on a product that I did not believe in at all. And I was called out really quickly. please try your best to get yourself out of that situation. If you can bring yourself to believe in it, speak to customers, speak to users, things like that, maybe you can come around. If you don't think anyone wants to listen to what you have to say, I call bullshit on that. Everybody is worth listening to. Everybody. You're the one that's there. You're there presenting. The audience are there. They wouldn't be there if they didn't want to listen to you. They've come to listen to you. You have to believe in yourself enough to think whatever you say, whatever you talk about, that there are people that want to hear it. Please believe that as you're doing it. If you think there are people that can do it better, of course there is. Most definitely. Absolutely. The millions of people I walk past on the streets, they can all do stuff better than me. Please eradicate this as a problem. It's not a problem. It's a good thing. Don't, though, convince yourself they're in your audience. You would be incredibly unlucky if one of those is in your audience. If you're talking about medication delivery, if you're talking about AI, if you're talking about cybersecurity, believe that they want to listen to you. Believe that you're one of the best persons to speak about it. I've actually fallen foul of this one. I did a STEM activity on mathematics to a set of A-level students that knew maths far better than me. So yeah, quickly pivoted to AI and they were on my every word. You know you're crap at this. You know you can't present. You can't talk. You can't. That may be true. You might be new to this. I meet a lot of students that certainly struggle. They think they're rubbish at it, and perhaps there's elements that they do struggle with. Go through the steps that I'm going to share with you today, and it should convince you that you can do a good job of it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I've got a set of slides now. There are 15 points, 15 items that I'd like to share. I think we should almost workshop this a little bit. What I'd like to do is I'll go through each one, but then I'll invite any thoughts, questions, opinions on them as I go, rather than at the end. So yeah, come off mute, join in, please. Okay, the first one. Know your audience. So when Sam asked me to do this talk, the first thing I did is reach back out to Sam and go, hi, who can I speak to understand who's going to be in the meeting? This is really important. Remember those maths kids that were better at it than me? That was me not knowing my audience. How do you do this? Whoever the organizer is, whether you've organized it yourself or someone's organized it for you, or you're joining in an event, please make sure that you're reaching out to find out who the audience is. If you've gone out and marketed and brought somebody into a webinar that you're running yourself, do a bit of research about some of those people. It's really important that whether you've got buyers in the room, whether you've got auditors, commissioners, customers, other businesses, it's really important you understand it. If you're talking to children about cybersecurity, find the age range out so you get an idea of what kind of language you need to use in it. But it's really important that before you sit down and start working out perhaps what you're talking about, what your points are going to be, it's really important that you find that out. Any questions on this? Okay. Script it. So this is a double-edged sword, ladies and gentlemen. Under no circumstances read, please. I know it's hard. If you're presenting for an hour and you've got an awful lot to talk about, you're going to struggle to remember it. Please don't read. It's a killer. It's a killer. I turn off when someone's reading. I really do. And I'm not alone. Most people do. You might as well have sent me the presentation. I'll read it myself. Please don't. But it's a great way of learning. It's a great way of structuring your thoughts, getting them down on paper. So please do scribble down. And I do. I've got a whiteboard that I scribble on. Scribble down what you're going to say. It's reinforcing. It's a wonderful way. It's one of the best ways of reinforcing. That's why we write lines at school. Well, they used to back when they beat you. So yeah, that was it. It's reinforcement. It's a very strong type of reinforcement. So do it. write out, perhaps word for word, if that's the kind of person you are, absolutely. But then when you're rewriting it, when you're tailoring it, when you're starting to trim it down, end up with bullet points. That's what you want. So I do. I end up with groups of words that are just bullet points to remind me what I'm talking about next. But as long as you've made sure you're knowledgeable about what you're talking about, you should be able to see a bullet point and be able to talk about it for 3 minutes. So do script it, have that script with you, revise that script, read it just before as well to refresh your memory, but don't read during the presentation. Anyone like to disagree? Anybody love the idea of listening to someone read? Cool. Talk to yourselves. So talking about that reinforcement, I do this all the time. So as I was preparing for this talk today, I would talk it out, sound it out. It's really important to do it. Find times when you're alone, your commute, your dog walk, anything like that, and just talk it out loud, not monologue, not in your head. Really important you sound it out. You'll realize there's words you're tripping over. You'll realize the flow is wrong, that sentence didn't flow into the next one. Make it up as you go. Just as you're driving, while you're filling up the petrol, whatever it is, just mumble it through, and it really helps you structure what you're going to say in what order. The number of times that I'll scribble my notes down, this is what I'm thinking and talking about. And then as I start talking it, I realize, no, that's useless. I'll move that one around there. Actually, I need to spend longer on that because there's loads to say. I'll put bullet points. That's what I'll do. So yeah, please do talk it aloud, not in your head. It's really important you say it out loud. It's only then that your body actually picks up the words that you're going to struggle with and things like that. Any questions on this one? I have to just kind of ask you to trust me and promise. Try it once, and you'll find it helpful. Timing. This should go without saying. There's one that's easy, and there's one that for some reason, white middle-aged men seem to struggle with. Turn up on time. That's the easy one. You must realize just a minute late, people are they're going to judge you for that. They will judge you for that. Please, you have to turn up for your presentations on time. You have to be there early to make sure that you are. But the one people seem to struggle with is don't run over. Don't ever run over. If you have a 10-minute slot and there's another speaker after you, if you have a 30-minute slot, whatever it might be, you mustn't ever run over. If it looks like you are, you must stop. You must turn to the organizer and you must ask, I'm really sorry I haven't finished. Is it okay if I continue? Please, you're gonna come across a much better if you acknowledge that you're running out of time and rush or cut short than if you assume everyone's got time for you and they're going to stick around and wait. Any comments? Okay, stand the hell up. I can't stress the importance of this one. There's biological things where you're sat down, you're pressing your diaphragm up, it goes into your lungs, it makes a difference. I was lucky enough, my first job ever was in a call center. And I didn't care. It was just a call, it was just money to pay the rent. That's all it was. But then they rolled in a Navy SEAL negotiator to teach you how to listen to people's voices on a phone and interpret their mood and stuff like that. It blew my mind. It was fantastic. And one of the things that gentleman taught us was to tell if someone's standing up or sitting down. And you can do that just by listening to their voice. And I'll be honest, I got really good at it. We used to have competitions in the call center, and I was spot on. I was really good at it. You can tell also the body language. You get more animated when you're stood up. Naturally, it's how your body reacts. It's how it works to it. And you instantly come across more upbeat. There's more personality in your voice. You know, I'm happy to share afterwards publication stuff that I've trawled through on this. I find it quite fascinating. Again, I'm going to ask you to trust me. Try it once. You will really enjoy it. I've got a cool little desk that goes up and down. It was 80 quid and it works beautifully. But a hack on this one is if you stand up, the chair you're sitting on, put it on your table, put your device on top of that, it's almost the perfect level. So if you're in an office environment or a dining room table or anything like that, that's a simple way of doing it. Otherwise, yeah, prop it up on books. Anybody had particular success with this one? Anyone tried standing up and really enjoyed it?
No, I want to ask a question though. When you guys ran the competition to see who was sitting up and who was standing down, how did you prove it?
We asked.
You just asked that question?
We asked them. We'd say to the caller when they rang, they'd say, "Hi, can you just do it? We're getting trained to understand people's moods from their bodies. Can I ask you a question? Might sound silly, but are you standing up or sitting down?" And a lot of people would really enjoy talking to us about it. But yeah, that's how we test it. Did we then lie? No, I was very good. This is a really big one. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it. If you ever go to an event where there's a lot of talkers, a lot of speakers, the ones that are standing up, watch for it. You'll find that they are perhaps more engaging. Okay, sorry, introverts. It is a performance. I'm really sorry. It is. You're influencing. You're getting people to listen to you. That's the idea of it. And it is a performance. So why am I mentioning this? Space. So whether you're on a stage, whether you're in a room, or whether you're over a video conferencing like this, you have space around it. It is your stage. Please use it. There's an awful lot you can do with it. You can hold up props. When I talk about mobile technology and BYOD, I hold a phone up and things like that. A very quick one, which is really useful, is if you want to try and get a point across as important or vital or secret or I'm your friend, if you lean into the screen, that does that. You'll never guess what. That works really well. Likewise, if someone asks you a question, you can step back. And it gives you a pause. The mannerism that people see when you step back like that is you've disengaged and time to think. And it comes across quite nicely. I've used it and I've seen people do it, and it works really well. It buys them some time to answer a question, and the audience don't mind it. They see that you've gone back to think. So I'll encourage you, please use the space around you. I got into a very bad habit at the beginning of lockdown when we did far more things like this. Of doing this. I think it was the adrenaline of presenting. It didn't look good. Some people went into the chat and asked me if I was doing Pilates and things like that. So yeah, do be careful about moving too much. Any questions on it? Some of you might have read this one or heard this one. It's a very common one, and I'm a big believer in it. Try your best to squeeze a question into the first 5 minutes. This does a few things. It wakes your audience up. It acknowledges in the audience's mind that you're the one to be listened to. You're the person who's asking the questions. And it also buys you some time. You're going to feel anxious at this point, probably the most anxious you're going to feel in the whole presentation. At the very beginning, at the front of it. If you ask a question of your audience, it buys you some minutes, some moments. And those can be just enough for you to calm a little bit and take a breath before you carry on with your presentation. It does wonders. When you do it, perhaps for the first time, you'll find you do feel more relaxed after people have answered. And this doesn't have to be complicated. You can go boring and generic. Who got stuck in traffic coming here? Who enjoys the M25? Remember when we used to meet in person? Who uses cat photos to replace their picture, and things like that. So yeah, I'll encourage you to do it. It works. It will make you feel a bit more confident, relaxed after the question's been asked. It does. Any questions about asking a question? So introverts and you extroverts, if you are anxious, nervous, worried, feel out of your depth, it's okay to say so. Remember authenticity? It's okay. Perhaps your first question, who hates presenting? it's okay for you to acknowledge this, and I'll encourage you to do that. I've seen presenters and you can see that they're nervous. You can see it, and I instantly empathize. That's who I am. But when they turn around and say, you know, this isn't my normal environment, I'm the developer that sits in the dark room most of the time, it changes the perception of your audience. Your audience changes their perception of you. So I will encourage you, have a slide that acknowledges it or something. When you introduce yourself at the beginning, perhaps say, you know, this is me, this is what I'm not. So when it gets up on stage and talks about themselves, that's okay. Have a drink. I'm not saying it can't be alcoholic. I'll just warn you if it's 9 a.m. when your talk is. So a drink is fantastic. It's your biggest prop and tool in your meeting. Doesn't matter if it's this, you want to be posh, or you can have a cuppa. That's totally acceptable these days. It does a number of things. It buys you time. It is etiquette and acceptable in a presentation to pause and take a sip of a drink. We're all very British, aren't we? It's okay to do it. So do it. If you're stumped by a question, if somebody's giving you a curveball, if you've fallen over your words and stuttered, if your animations on your slide deck didn't work, just don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just stop, take a sip of water and carry on. It will make you feel better. And it only takes those few moments for you to get your thoughts back together. I've seen people, again, these are people who are perhaps quite nervous at presenting, and they will drink quite regularly throughout it. It's okay to do that. If you're actually on person on the stage, you'll hold it in your hand. It's absolutely fine to do it. Everyone loves a story. They do, no matter what you're talking about, no matter what you're talking about. I encourage you, whether it's relevant or not, put a story in your presentation. A story can be 60 seconds. I told you about the maths group that were far better at it than me. Any kind of story, and you know what? Feel free to, because it's amazing. Watch your audience when you do it. Acknowledge that you're about to tell them a story. Say, right, guys, forgive me 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you a story. They settle into their chair. Their whole body language, they sit back. They're like, ooh, go on then. People really like the story. If you can make it authentic to what you're talking about, to who you are, to what you do, that's really important. A story I use, I work in social care. I'll never forget a day where I was shadowing a nurse on a medication round, and an old lady sat in a chair, said to her, she gave the medication to this old lady, and the old lady said, "Thanks, dearer." The nurse froze and dropped the tray of medication everywhere. And I was like, uh-oh, what's just happened? The lady hadn't spoken for 7 years. For 7 years. She'd just come out of the NHS with a knee replacement, and she spoke. Well, figure that out. So this is the beauty. It's why I work in social care. I see miracles. I'm very lucky to. But yeah, these kind of stories, things that are pertinent, point to who you are, what you do, and you can be authentic and tell them. Please, I encourage you, every presentation you have, put a story in it. If you're going through data and you're showing a load of graphs, put a story in it. They can be quick. You can take your time. You can say a long story. Your audience will forgive you for it. Right, slides. Here we go. Again, books written on this, experts that are going to charge you a fortune to build them. And I've done it, and they're good. I've paid people to do these slide decks, pitch decks. They were very good, to be honest. You don't need them. This is the whole idea of a slide deck versus your face. Your face wins. People are there to listen to you. They're there to see your authenticity and your knowledge. Your slide deck might help you with your knowledge, but it's not really going to help you with your authenticity. That's you. So it's okay to give a 10-minute presentation with no slide deck. Your facilitator might say differently, but it is okay. They are there to listen to you. 3 points I'd like to make. Relevant, this is something you might have read or heard from experts and in books, and I do believe in it. Your presentation at every point in time must be relevant to what you're saying. If you've started talking about something different, change your slide. It's very important that your audience aren't seeing one message and hearing about something different. They're going to get confused. They're going to stop trusting one of them. And it's usually a slide deck. They'll follow you, but leave your slide deck behind, and you'll struggle to catch them up. If you've gone off at a tangent, perhaps the questions come your way, kill your presentation, come back to the audience, come back to the room. It's okay to do that mid-presentation. Not many people do that, but it's okay. So please know this, your face wins out over your slide deck every time. Make sure it's relevant. No reading. Oh my God, I saw a presentation from a gentleman who started his presentation with, my slide decks are like kids. It doesn't matter if everyone thinks they're ugly. I love them. And I said, in my mind, I was like, please don't now go ahead and show me ugly slides. And he did. It's not okay to say that your presentation is rubbish and then present a rubbish presentation. No reading. There are 2 types of presentation. There's one that will be circulated. There's one that's going to be shared. You're going to email it. You're going to post it out. You're going to send it. Yes, you need words on that. It's okay to have words on those. People need to get you need to get the point across in writing. That's fine. The other slide deck's the one that you're presenting to people. You don't want them reading what's on the deck. You want them listening to you. So please don't have long amounts of words that they're going to read through. Temporary is okay. This is the point I've just made a little bit earlier. You can bring your slide deck up and close it down again. Bring it up and close it down again. When you want attention on you, when you want your attention on the audience, drop it and bring it back up when it's relevant. That is better to do than have one that's off topic. You are knowledgeable, honest. Now you can blag knowledge. I'm going to give you a massive hint on how you do that. Now, please make sure you're authentically knowledgeable about what you're talking about, please. But a very simple way of doing this, audience love when you reference books, websites, podcasts, things like that. Find websites, find books, find publications, find papers that back up what you're saying and reference them as good reads, things like that. Ideally, you've read them. I'm not saying that you don't have to, but it's more important that you can show people other resources to further discover what you're talking about. So it does come across as knowledgeable. I've seen lots of talks where people will do one slide, they'll spend 60 seconds on it, and they'll just reel off 3 books. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, please can I ask you to remember these 3 titles? This one's great for this is great for this, and this is great for this. Everyone's scribbling. Everyone's, whether they ever read them or not, people scribble. And I'll put my hand up now. I've bought a book off the back of those. It's still on the shelf. I might read it one day. So there's a hack. You please put kind of those publications up on your slide decks. I've got a feeling. Anyone want to finish that for me? No. No one's going to sing on. All right, fine. It is recorded. I'll give you that. Please bring out your human side in this, even if you're not that kind of person. I will encourage you all at least once at the end to tell your audience you've enjoyed yourself. Please, whether you have or not, doesn't matter. Hang on, be authentic. But at the end, please say to your audience, I've really enjoyed. Thank you so much for the 10 minutes of your time you've given me. I really appreciate that. Use these human words. Tell them how you feel. Feel free to do it up front. I'm looking forward to the next 10 minutes. I can't wait to tell you about the miracle I saw in a care home once. You know, whatever it is, try and squeeze in once. If you can squeeze it in a couple of times, again, it's good. People go away with a good feeling about you. It does speak to them. save your work. Anyone giggling at that quote there? Tell me some people are getting it. Yeah, there we are. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, so that's a geek. That's a geek joke. This is something I fell foul to. Then I got really good at it. And then I lost my work and I realized how important it was. Every time you do a presentation, your scribbles, the first scribbles you do and the last scribbles you do, I will take a photo of this and I'll save it in a OneDrive or Dropbox, whatever you want to use. Please, all your notes, any recording, if somebody puts your talk on YouTube, get the link for it. All the stuff that you've done in that talk, save it in a folder, date it, put a title on it. If you're like me, the titles will be not relevant and you'll wish you'd done better at it. But without much effort, just save it somewhere. I didn't do this and I never learned from my talks. And on that point, some of you are going to hate this. Always watch them back. I have got to a point where I don't mind seeing myself anymore. I've got used to it. Please watch yourself back. You'll realize you're doing this all the time. You'll realize I used to have a bad habit of doing this all the time. So yeah, please watch yourself back. You'll learn an awful lot. But also, whenever you do a presentation, the first thing you're going to do is cheat. You're going to look back at other ones you've done and try and steal that wonderful image you managed to grab from somewhere. And things like that. So please save it. I had reams of this stuff with presentations and everything, and I lost it all. And then I realized, oh, this goes onto my backup list. This is back when you used to back up onto a tape. I'm old. I think 15 is the last one. Yes, it is. Then do it all again and again and again and again. So I promise you, the first time you ever present will be the worst. Every time you present will be better than the last in some way. This is not like the Matrix movies. This gets better every single time you do it. So the only way you can do that is practice and present. So this is probably one of the most important ones. Even if you did it badly, if you hated it, if you were uncomfortable, I'm really sorry that is the nature of this stuff when you're not used to it. The only way to solve that is to get used to it. So I will encourage you, when you have an opportunity, put your hand up and do it. If it's something you can believe in and you're knowledgeable about, please just do it as many times as you can. And this counts for anything. Speaking at a wedding, speaking at your mate's thing, whatever it might be, any opportunity you can have to present to other people, please take it, because that's the only way you're going to learn, and you will get better every single time. Definitely. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. I've got a few other things just going to whiz through, but I'm just going to pause here. Everyone enjoying what they're hearing so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. I've got a clap. Even the cat liked it. Gives me evils, but a thumbs up. That's brilliant. So I just want to give you a few quick and dirty hacks, particularly for when you're on a presentation like this. So one, and I'm failing already, cameras on. Try and encourage your audience to turn cameras on. And for those of you that were here at the beginning, I did try and encourage you to. You get so much feedback from your audience if you can see them. When I was presenting, Zoom limits the number of people I could see. Thank goodness I could see Phil. Because Phil's mannerisms were feeding back to me. It was great, thanks. But that can give you a lot of confidence when you're talking, when you can see people. Just a nod from one person in an audience can give you a boost when you're talking. So try and encourage that on. I've got a heading of cats and kids. If you're talking like this, the world has changed for the better with lockdown, because now we all use these kind of tools. Have you noticed how everyone's far more casual in a meeting like this than in a room? People get dressed up, don't they?
David is literally roller skating, which seems extremely inappropriately comical.
That's not live. David, is that live?
It's totally live. I don't know how well you know, David, but I absolutely promise you it's live.
It's pretty close to the ultimate in being casual, isn't it?
Yes. And you know what, David, you won't believe this. My very next point was if someone's cat jumps on the keyboard in the middle of your presentation, stop the meeting and acknowledge it. Audience like that. If a kid walks into a room, stop your presentation and say, who's the new person that's just joined? Encourage them to pick the kid up, put them on their lap and wave, get the audience to wave to them. If someone starts roller skating halfway through your talk, stop your talk and acknowledge the roller. That's a new one. That's a new one. That goes into a book somewhere. Thanks, David. Enjoyed that. So another one that actually I managed to use a bit earlier with Phil, names. Thanks to Zoom and Teams, you know your audience's names. You didn't used to have that in a conference or in a meeting room. And even if it was a formal meeting room where you all did introductions, you never remember. I don't have to remember now. It's brilliant. It's great. So I can call people out. You can use their names. Everyone knows using names is really powerful when you're talking to people. So please use them. You have people's names. If you see someone nod in the middle of your presentation, use their name. Say, thanks, Susan, thanks, whatever. It's really, really useful in this. Cheat sheets. Talking about being a performance and you're on a stage, there's a load of space around me. You guys can't see. I am dressed. I am. But you've got loads of space. Fill it with post-it notes. Hang things up around the place. Believe it or not, the camera sits very high. I can hold my phone right in front of all your faces and you can't see it. This is loads of space to put post-it notes to remind yourself. I have shared this kind of advice with a person here in Innovation Labs. The next time I saw her, she had post-it notes in a circle around her screen. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. They had arrows leading to each other and they were her talk points. And I absolutely brilliant. So yeah, you've got all this real estate no one can see. Use it to cheat. That stat, you know, you've got to quote that percentage, just have it written on something that they can't see. The chat function. Don't forget about the chat function. So you will never be able to chat while you're presenting. It's impossible. Don't try. I've tried it. Someone said something and I've missed it. Yeah, I gave up on that very quickly. So during your presentation, stay away from the chat. But after your presentation, if you're one of many, get in the chat. It's really powerful. Thank people. I tell you what, a really good one is. I've had a lot of success with this. At some point, try and screenshot. At some point in your talk, try and screenshot. Before you leave, drop it in the chat and just say, what a wonderful group of people. Or going back to the talk when I talked about share your feelings, it was so great to meet you all. That goes down really well. And you get other people doing it as well and things like that. You get good culture. And then my last point that I want to rate is about backgrounds. So a lot of people talk to me about backgrounds. There's a good, there's a bad, and there's an ugly. So this is controversial. Bad is generic virtual backgrounds in Teams and Zoom. If I see that cream office one more time with a door behind them, or that there's a corner suite with a glass office with a London skyline, which I see time and time again. When I see that, all I think is that the room you're in is filthy. That's all I think. I don't think that you haven't done your makeup. I don't think that your hair's a nightmare. I don't think it's because you've got kids in the background. When I see a generic, dull background, I think you're just somewhere, you're in your bed, you're in bed, you're not dressed, you're somewhere grim. So please, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, it's animated though, Martin. Actually, you've gone up a step. That's new from Zoom. That
of course,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. But that used to be still, didn't it? And that was a very common one. So for me, they're the worst. The best is your real background. So for a few reasons. One, you know the green screen you get? It is a distraction for your audience. That's creepy, Martin. Love it. So that green screen you get where you don't quite see between the fingers, behind the ear you often get as well. It is a distraction for an audience, particularly if you do move and animate. So the natural background is really good. It shows you're human. We're allowed to be now, thanks to the lockdown. People are allowed to relax and be more casual in meetings like this. It also lets you interact with people. If there is something in their background, you can acknowledge the kid and things like that. It puts people at ease if people can see their natural backgrounds. That is the best. Third's the one with the hairy chest. This one is a bespoke or tailored virtual background. A bespoke or tailored one's really good. I got my team to take photos in their house, outside their house, on their street, and they use those sometimes. And it's really nice. They can say that is my house behind me. That works okay. That's not too bad. Another one that somebody in the Innovation Labs did here, which I thought was really good, and I've certainly stolen the idea, is that. You see me? Yeah, it has come through. This is tailored around where I am. Again, you could put this. So Martin, I can assume you have some sort of interest in music or selling keyboards.
Kind of.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can show your personality, your authenticity, your product, your brand, whatever it is behind you, please do. It's so much better than the generic ones. They're the worst. I'm done. Anyone got any questions? Anyone got any I've missed?
What happens when you have to ad lib?
Oh, so there is a whole, that's a really good question. You become a politician, that's what happens. There is a whole area of interest that you can go into and study around this idea. And this is the idea that you've just dropped the knowledgeable and you're expected to talk on a subject that perhaps you don't have any thoughts on. Now, an easy way of practicing this, this is going back to talking to yourself like you're an idiot. Narrate your life quite regularly. So if you're driving, narrate what you're seeing. Oh, there's a nice tree that went past. It gets you used to talking about things, make up stories about what you're seeing. Try and talk on a subject for 60 seconds. Randomly choose a subject. When you're making toast in the morning, look at the butter and try and talk about butter for 60 seconds. This can train you to ad lib.
Without deviation, hesitation, or repetition.
Yes. Martin's just making us all hungry now, so.
Yeah. So that you don't want to do it. Ideally, you want to put yourself in a position where that's not going to happen to you. You lose your knowledge side of things, but you're going to have to train yourself to do it. Sadly, I'm a white male, so I like the sound of my own voice. And yeah, you can ad lib too much. You can talk far too much, and I do suffer from that one. Anything else?
I've got a question about equipment. So I'm looking for cameras, and I know that's a difficult one anyway because there isn't the availability. But do you think, I've recently been on chats with people or with them, and then when they move, the camera refocuses, and I find that quite disconcerting. So too technical. I mean, again, this isn't the great pixelation, I'm sure, but this seems a bit more solid to me than having that kind of moving element. What's your recommendation around the sort of technology people use?
Movement's terrible. Focus is vital, but movement's terrible. So my laptop, I don't think you do know, Microsoft Teams, the camera tracks me. And I try not to lean too much to one side, otherwise the camera tracks me. It's not good for your audience. You're absolutely right, Sam. It does put them off. And you can be stuck like this until you do a bit more, and then the camera moves correctly. So that's not good. Focus is vital. Before I did that, I walked around the whole office looking for where the light was. I carried my laptop with me to see how it caught my focus. There's one thing worse than somebody who you can't quite see and you doesn't capture their movements, and that's audio. Don't scrimp on your audio, please. The reason I'm using a headset is it's just considerably better than my laptop. And even though it would be nicer visually for you all if I wasn't wearing it. Tough, but the audio wins every single time. So please do invest in a headset that's sound cancelling on both ends, that nobody can hear who's next to you, but they're not going to hear your audience either. So yeah, this is a special noise cancelling one that I use a lot. So in terms of simple's fine, you shouldn't be spending money, particularly on the audio, on the visual stuff in terms of the cameras. I've seen presenters using WhatsApp on a phone. And you know what, actually WhatsApp does great wonders for your complexion, that auto AI stuff. That's the only nice thing I'm going to say about them. Anything else?
Very quiet, everybody. It's been fantastic, though, I have to say, Geraint. It was a consummate talk. Everything was in there. There aren't many questions to ask. It was incredible. Thank you. Really knowledgeable. So I will send the video out. We're being recorded, so we'll send out a video. If anyone has not got any other questions, if anyone would like to speak, please email me at sam@measuredbrilliance.com, and I'll send you a link with a sort of form to fill in with a talk suggestion. You guys, we've got some Toastmasters here, or electrifiers here, haven't we? So if there's anybody, if you guys, I know Julie specialises in teaching people who give technical talks to give technical talks. Julie, we have a platform if any of them would like to practice.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to go back to honesty, if there's anything that they would want to bring to the table, we're really keen to run as many as possible. So we've got one talk book to the one. We've got some. We definitely have some in the mix. It is not always getting details, easy to get details out of people. So you end up with none, and then 15, and then none, and then we go from that. So we're pushing for some content at the moment. And we have a talk coming up next Thursday, which is about a quality first approach to software development. Which is under SyncIpswich, but I think it counted as Suffolk Developers Talk for this month as well. David Flynn, Dave, OWASP Talk, when's your next talk? What's the topic?
It's on Internet of Things, and I think it's the 22nd, is that right, Martin?
We'll send out the details. We'll send out an email. But thank you all for attending. If you've got any questions for us, just let us know. We'll send you the video from this will be live from tomorrow morning. We will send you a link to that. We'll send one to you, Geraint, as well. And we will send you the upcoming talks, and we'll try and stay in touch as much as possible. And if there's anything else we can do to help, let us know. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you to our speaker.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for not telling me there was Toastmasters in this until the end. That would have really caused my anxiety to go up.
I have to say, do you know what? Because I turned up recently I think I talked about Obadiah quite a lot. And I wondered if you were one of them, because he's good, Julie, isn't he? You've genuinely got
He's very good. But I will say that Toastmasters is a place to develop your speaking and to get better from wherever you are. So we're all at different stages. And when I started there, I certainly was afraid to talk at all. So. So it's a variety. So certainly don't be overwhelmed or concerned about that at all. I'm just here to learn more and more.
David, put the link to the OWASP event in the chat, and you can find our other event by the ISTN website. So thank you very much. Thanks to David. David's there. Now cycling. Honestly, he is.
I've heard of don't text and drive, but
he's the comedy element to our troop. Where would we be without him? Probably
good value.
Right, we will see you all at the next event. Thank you so much for coming. Get in touch if you need help. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
thank you.
Thank you.